Picture this. You're walking through the glittering chaos of the Bellagio casino floor at 3 a.m., surrounded by the hypnotic symphony of slot machines, the desperate whispers of blackjack players, and the controlled frenzy of a billion-dollar industry designed to separate you from your money. Now imagine that instead of seeing flashing lights and hearing random noise, your brain processes this environment as a vast mathematical puzzle where every sound, every pattern, every seemingly random event follows predictable rules that others can't see. This was reality for Alex Chen, a 22-year-old MIT mathematics student with autism spectrum disorder, who discovered something that casino executives had nightmares about. Their random games weren't random at all. And over the course of 18 months, before being permanently banned from every major casino in the world, Alex turned this discovery into the most sophisticated gambling operation in history, winning over $40 million and exposing fundamental flaws in an industry that prides itself on mathematical precision. But how does someone who struggles with eye contact and social interaction become the most feared person in Las Vegas? How does a college student with no criminal background outsmart security systems designed by former CIA analysts and software engineers? The answer lies in understanding something that most people never realize. Sometimes the minds that society considers different are actually seeing patterns that everyone else is missing. Alex's story doesn't begin in a casino or even with gambling. It starts in a childhood bedroom in Palo Alto, where a 7-year-old boy spent hours arranging thousands of colored blocks in patterns so complex that his parents couldn't understand what they were looking at, let alone replicate them. While other children played with toys randomly, Alex created mathematical sequences using everyday objects. His Lego creations weren't castles or cars, they were three-dimensional representations of prime number progressions, geometric theorems, and statistical distributions that would challenge graduate-level mathematics students. Alex would build these incredible structures, recalls his mother, Dr. Lisa Chen, a computer science professor at Stanford. When we asked him to explain what he was making, he would say things like, "I'm showing how probability waves work," or "This is what happens when you multiply infinity by patterns." We didn't understand it, but we could see there was sophisticated mathematical thinking happening. What Lisa didn't realize was that Alex's brain was developing pattern recognition abilities that would later prove almost superhuman. While typical children learn to ignore background information to focus on what's immediately relevant, Alex's mind absorbed and processed every detail simultaneously, looking for connections and regularities that others couldn't perceive. By age 10, Alex was solving mathematical problems that his teachers couldn't verify without computer assistance. But more remarkably, he was finding errors in textbooks, discovering shortcuts for complex calculations, and identifying patterns in datasets that professional mathematicians had missed. His middle school math teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, remembers the first time Alex demonstrated his unusual abilities. We were working on probability problems with dice and cards, while other students were learning basic concepts like the chance of rolling a 6 is 1 in 6. Alex was explaining how the manufacturing variations in dice create bias patterns that affect long-term results. He was right, but his insights were so advanced that I had to research graduate-level statistics to understand what he was talking about. But Alex's mathematical gifts came with significant social challenges. He struggled to make eye contact, had difficulty understanding social cues, and often became overwhelmed by sensory input in crowded or noisy environments. Traditional classroom settings were torture for someone whose mind processed information differently than his peers. His parents tried various approaches to help Alex develop social skills, but the interventions that worked for other children with autism seemed ineffective for someone whose intellectual capabilities were so far beyond his age group. Alex wasn't just different, he was exceptionally different in ways that made conventional support systems inadequate. The breakthrough came during his senior year of high school when Alex encountered a computer programming class. For the first time, he found an environment where his pattern recognition abilities weren't just appreciated, they were extraordinarily valuable. Programming clicked for Alex in ways that nothing else had, explains his computer science teacher, Mrs. Park. While other students learned coding as a series of commands and functions, Alex understood it as a language for describing patterns and logical relationships. He could debug complex programs by looking at the code for a few seconds and immediately identifying where the logic broke down. More importantly, Alex discovered that programming allowed him to create controlled environments where his social difficulties weren't handicaps. In the digital world, communication was precise, logical, and free from the ambiguous social signals that made real-world interactions so challenging. His programming projects quickly evolved beyond classroom assignments. Alex began developing software that identified patterns in large datasets, programs that could analyze stock market fluctuations, predict weather patterns, and even identify trends in social media behavior with accuracy that impressed professional data scientists. When college application time arrived, Alex's academic record was extraordinary but complicated. His grades were perfect in mathematics and science courses, but his performance in classes requiring social interaction or subjective interpretation was inconsistent. His AT scores were perfect, but his application essays struggled to convey personality in ways that admissions committees expected. MIT's acceptance letter came with a note that Alex would later learn was unusual. The admissions committee had been specifically intrigued by his supplemental materials showing mathematical insights that they couldn't fully evaluate without consulting faculty experts. Alex wasn't just a promising student, he was a mathematical curiosity that the university wanted to study and develop. College life at MIT should have been ideal for someone with Alex's intellectual capabilities, but the social challenges proved more difficult than anticipated. Dormitory life was overwhelming, collaborative projects were stressful, and the social aspects of university culture remained as mystifying as ever. Alex found refuge in the computer lab, where he could work alone on projects that matched his interests and abilities. His freshman year research project involved developing algorithms that could identify subtle patterns in seemingly random data, work that would prove crucial to his later discoveries about casino mathematics. The project started as an academic exercise in machine learning and statistical analysis, but Alex's approach was unconventional even by MIT standards. While other students focused on well-defined problems with clear solutions, Alex was exploring what he called hidden order detection, finding mathematical relationships in systems that appeared random but contained subtle underlying patterns. His faculty advisor, Dr. Robert Kim, was initially skeptical. Alex was trying to prove that truly random systems don't exist in practical applications. His theory was that any system created by humans or machines contains detectable biases, no matter how carefully it's designed to appear random. It seemed like philosophical mathematics rather than practical research. But Alex's preliminary results were intriguing enough to warrant further investigation. His algorithms could identify manufacturing biases in dice, predict outcomes in supposedly random computer-generated sequences, and even detect patterns in biological processes that appeared chaotic to conventional analysis. The breakthrough came during spring break of Alex's sophomore year. While most students were traveling or relaxing, Alex remained in the lab working on his pattern detection software. He had been testing his algorithms on various datasets when he decided to analyze something he had never considered before: the statistical outcomes from casino gambling games. Alex obtained public data from Nevada gaming commissions, showing aggregate results from various casino games over several years. His initial interest was purely academic. He wanted to see if his pattern detection algorithms could identify any non-random elements in systems that were supposed to be mathematically perfect. What he discovered changed everything. The slot machines showed anomalies, not obvious biases that casino security would detect, but subtle statistical variations that only emerged when analyzing millions of outcomes using advanced pattern recognition software. The variations were tiny, fractions of percentages that wouldn't be noticeable to human observation, but they were consistent and most importantly predictable. Alex came to me with printouts that looked like abstract art, Dr. Kim recalls. Pages of graphs and statistical analyses showing what he claimed were detectable patterns in casino slot machine outcomes. My first reaction was that he had made an error in his methodology. Random number generators in modern casinos are sophisticated enough that patterns shouldn't exist. But Alex's work survived every attempt to debunk it. Independent verification confirmed that his algorithms had indeed identified subtle but real patterns in slot machine behavior. The discovery had staggering implications. If slot machines weren't truly random, then someone with the right analytical tools might be able to predict outcomes better than chance would allow. The ethical implications were complex. Alex wasn't proposing to cheat or manipulate casino equipment. He was suggesting that the equipment itself wasn't operating as advertised. If casinos claimed their games were random, but they actually contained detectable patterns, was exploiting those patterns cheating or simply superior mathematical analysis? Dr. Kim urged caution. I told Alex that his research was academically fascinating but practically dangerous. Casinos have teams of mathematicians, security experts, and lawyers, whose job is to protect against exactly this kind of discovery. Even if he was technically right, applying his research in real casinos could result in criminal charges, civil lawsuits, or worse. But Alex saw the situation differently. In his logical mathematical worldview, he had discovered truth about systems that were misrepresented to the public. Casinos advertised their games as fair and random, but his research proved they contained exploitable biases. Using superior mathematical analysis to identify these biases wasn't cheating, it was scientific method applied to real-world problems. The decision to test his theories in actual casinos wasn't made impulsively. Alex spent months developing more sophisticated algorithms, creating mobile software that could analyze slot machine patterns in real time, and studying casino security procedures to understand how his activities might be detected. His first test was deliberately small-scale and cautious. During spring break of his junior year, Alex drove to a small tribal casino in Connecticut with $500 and a smartphone containing his pattern analysis software. He planned to spend a few hours testing whether his laboratory discoveries would work in real-world conditions. The results exceeded his most optimistic projections. Within 3 hours, using his software to select machines and timing his play based on pattern predictions, Alex had turned $500 into $3,200. The winnings weren't dramatic enough to attract attention, but they proved that his theoretical work translated into practical results. More importantly, Alex discovered that his autism provided unexpected advantages in the casino environment. While the sensory overload of flashing lights, loud sounds, and crowded spaces initially seemed overwhelming, his pattern-focused mind naturally filtered out distractions that affected other gamblers. Where typical players were influenced by excitement, superstition, and emotional reactions to wins and losses, Alex experienced casino gambling as a pure mathematical exercise. He felt no excitement from winning, and no disappointment from losing, only intellectual satisfaction from seeing his predictions confirmed by actual results. Over the following weeks, Alex refined his approach through additional small-scale tests. He developed protocols for identifying the most vulnerable machines, timing his play to maximize pattern exploitation, and managing his winnings to avoid suspicion. His systematic approach treated casino gambling like a scientific experiment where every variable could be measured, controlled, and optimized. He kept detailed records of machine behaviors, tracked the effectiveness of different strategies, and continuously updated his algorithms based on real-world performance data. By summer, Alex was ready for larger-scale operations. His first major casino expedition targeted Las Vegas during the summer tourist season, when high-volume play would make his activities less conspicuous. Alex had saved $10,000 from part-time programming work and planned a week-long trip that would either validate his methods definitively or prove that his small-scale success had been lucky coincidence. The Bellagio was his first target, chosen because its high-end reputation suggested sophisticated equipment that would provide the strongest test of his theories. Alex arrived on a Tuesday evening, dressed like a typical college student, carrying only his smartphone and enough cash for his planned gambling activities. Walking onto the casino floor was like entering an environment designed specifically for his unique capabilities. While other patrons were distracted by the overwhelming sensory input, Alex's mind automatically began cataloging and analyzing the patterns around him: machine placement, player behaviors, security camera positions, staff movement patterns. His software had been updated to work in real time, using his phone's camera and microphone to collect data about machine operations and outcomes. Within an hour of observation, he had identified 12 slot machines showing statistical anomalies that matched his predictive models. Alex's first night was deliberately conservative. He played for 4 hours, moving between machines according to his software's recommendations, betting modest amounts, and tracking results with scientific precision. When he returned to his hotel room at 2 a.m., he had turned $2,000 into $8,400. But the financial results were less important than what Alex had learned about casino operations. His pattern recognition abilities, enhanced by software analysis, gave him insights into gambling operations that went far beyond individual machine predictions. He began to understand the psychological architecture of casino design, how machine placement, lighting, and sound were orchestrated to influence player behavior. He recognized patterns in staff rotations, security procedures, and even the timing of complementary services that most patrons never noticed. Most remarkably, Alex discovered that his autism made him nearly invisible to casino security. While surveillance systems were designed to identify suspicious behaviors like card counting, collusion, or equipment manipulation, his quiet, methodical approach to machine play looked exactly like what casinos wanted to see: a solitary player spending hours feeding money into slot machines. His second night was more ambitious. Alex increased his betting amounts and expanded his play to include multiple casinos on the Strip. His software had learned from the previous night's data, making more accurate predictions about machine behaviors and optimal play timing. The results were extraordinary. In 6 hours of play across 4 different casinos, Alex won $31,000. His success rate was so consistent that he began to understand something troubling. The patterns he was exploiting weren't accidental manufacturing variations. They were systematic flaws in how casinos operated their most profitable games. By his fourth night, Alex realized he was dealing with something much larger than individual machine biases. His algorithms had identified patterns that suggested casino slot machine operations contained industry-wide vulnerabilities that could be exploited on a massive scale. The discovery was both exhilarating and terrifying. Alex had stumbled onto what amounted to a mathematical blueprint for defeating casino house edges through pure analytical superiority, but he also understood that this knowledge made him extraordinarily dangerous to an industry built on mathematical advantage. His week in Las Vegas ended with total winnings of $127,000, a result that definitively proved his methods but also marked the beginning of what would become an escalating conflict with casino security operations worldwide. Returning to MIT should have been a triumph, but Alex found himself grappling with implications that extended far beyond his academic research. He had proven that casino gambling systems contained exploitable flaws, but he had also discovered capabilities that could potentially destabilize an entire industry. Dr. Kim's reaction to Alex's Las Vegas results was a mixture of amazement and alarm. Alex had achieved something that everyone said was impossible. He had developed a mathematical approach that consistently beat casino games designed to be unbeatable. But he had also created a situation where his personal safety might be at risk from people who had billions of dollars invested in maintaining the status quo. Alex's logical mind struggled with the ethical complexities of his situation. From a mathematical perspective, he was simply applying superior analytical methods to publicly available games. But from a practical perspective, he possessed knowledge that casino operators would view as an existential threat. The decision to continue his casino operations wasn't made lightly. Alex spent the remainder of his summer developing more sophisticated methods, creating better software, and studying casino security procedures, with the same mathematical rigor he applied to pattern analysis. He also made a crucial realization. His autism, which had created social challenges throughout his life, provided extraordinary advantages for casino gambling that neurotypical players couldn't replicate. His ability to process complex patterns without emotional interference, his comfort with repetitive activities, and his natural tendency to avoid attention made him the perfect casino adversary. When classes resumed in the fall, Alex was leading a double life that would have been impossible for most students to manage. During the day, he attended lectures, completed assignments, and maintained his academic standing. But on weekends and breaks, he was conducting what amounted to advanced mathematical warfare against casino operations. His methods evolved rapidly through practical experience. Alex learned to identify vulnerable machines quickly, developed timing strategies that maximized his advantages, and created money management protocols that minimized his risk of detection while maximizing his profits. More importantly, he began to understand casino psychology from the inside. His autism allowed him to observe human behavior patterns that neurotypical people took for granted, giving him insights into how casino operations actually functioned versus how they were supposed to work. Alex discovered that casino security systems were optimized to detect traditional cheating methods, card counting, collusion, device manipulation, but were poorly designed to identify someone using advanced mathematical analysis to exploit systematic flaws in their equipment operations. His winter break expedition to Nevada casinos was planned with military-level precision. Alex had identified optimal targets, developed detailed operational procedures, and created contingency plans for various scenarios that might arise during his gambling activities. The results exceeded even his updated projections. Over 10 days of operations in Las Vegas, Reno, and Atlantic City, Alex won $340,000 while maintaining complete operational security. His success was so consistent that he began documenting his methods for potential academic publication. But Alex was also learning something troubling about the gambling industry. His pattern analysis had revealed that casino slot machine operations contained flaws that went beyond simple manufacturing variations. The irregularities he was exploiting appeared to be systematic problems that affected machines across multiple manufacturers and casino operators. The implications were staggering. If Alex's discoveries were correct, then slot machine operations throughout the gambling industry were vulnerable to exploitation by anyone with sufficient mathematical sophistication and pattern recognition capabilities. Spring semester brought new challenges as Alex attempted to balance his academic responsibilities with his increasingly successful gambling operations. His professors noticed that he seemed distracted during lectures, not because he was struggling with the material, but because his mind was processing mathematical concepts at levels that exceeded what was being taught. Dr. Kim became concerned about Alex's emotional state. He was clearly dealing with something that went beyond normal academic stress. Alex had always been focused and intense, but now he seemed to be carrying the weight of knowledge that he couldn't share with anyone else. The burden of his discoveries was becoming difficult to manage alone. Alex possessed mathematical insights that could potentially devastate casino industry profits, but he had no one to discuss the ethical, legal, and practical implications of his situation. His spring break operations marked a turning point in both his methods and his results. Alex had expanded his activities to include European casinos, where different regulatory environments and equipment manufacturers provided new opportunities to test his theories. Monte Carlo, with its legendary reputation for mathematical sophistication in high-stakes gambling, became Alex's most ambitious target. If his methods could succeed in casinos that catered to the world's most experienced and wealthy gamblers, then he would know that his discoveries represented fundamental flaws in gambling industry operations. The results in Monaco were extraordinary. Over 5 days of operations, Alex won €280,000 while playing in casinos that employed some of the world's most advanced security systems and mathematical oversight procedures. But success in Monte Carlo also brought Alex's first encounter with serious casino security attention. His consistent winning patterns combined with his unusual playing style and obvious analytical capabilities attracted notice from surveillance teams that were trained to identify sophisticated advantage players. On his final night in Monaco, Alex was approached by casino security personnel who requested a private conversation. The experience was terrifying for someone whose autism made unexpected social interactions extremely stressful, but it also provided crucial intelligence about how casino operators responded to players they couldn't understand. Mr. Chen, the head of security, explained politely, "We've been observing your play over the past several days. Your results have been statistically unusual. We're not suggesting any impropriety, but we would appreciate understanding your methods for achieving such consistent success." Alex's response was carefully prepared but completely honest. "I use mathematical analysis to identify patterns in machine behavior. Everything I do is based on publicly available information and standard statistical methods." The security team was clearly frustrated by their inability to identify specific violations of casino rules or laws. Alex wasn't using devices to manipulate equipment, wasn't collaborating with other players, and wasn't employing any traditional cheating methods that they were trained to detect. But they were also clear about their position. "While we can't prove any wrongdoing, your continued play at this establishment would not be welcome. We hope you understand that this is a business decision rather than an accusation of misconduct." Alex's ban from Monte Carlo casinos was his first direct confrontation with industry power, but it was also confirmation that his methods were so effective that casino operators viewed him as a threat even when they couldn't prove he was doing anything wrong. Returning to MIT after his European success, Alex faced a decision that would define the rest of his story. He could continue his casino operations, knowing that he was increasingly likely to face legal challenges, physical threats, and industry-wide opposition. Or he could abandon his discoveries and return to conventional academic pursuits that would never utilize his unique capabilities. The decision was made for him by events beyond his control. During his final semester at MIT, Alex's casino activities came to the attention of federal investigators who were conducting a broader inquiry into gambling industry security. His frequent travels, large cash transactions, and consistent casino winnings had created a pattern that looked suspicious to agencies trained to detect money laundering and organized crime activities. The FBI's approach was initially cordial, but became increasingly intrusive, as agents realized they were dealing with someone whose mathematical capabilities they couldn't understand or evaluate. Alex's autism made the interviews particularly stressful, and his honest explanations of his methods sounded implausible to investigators who lacked advanced mathematical training. Mr. Chen claims he's using legitimate mathematical analysis to predict gambling outcomes. Agent Sarah Rodriguez explained to her supervisors. But his success rates are so high that our consulting mathematicians say his methods are either fraudulent or represent discoveries that would revolutionize probability theory. The investigation created a cascade of consequences that Alex hadn't anticipated. Casino industry lawyers learned about his activities through federal inquiries, triggering legal actions designed to recover winnings and prevent future operations. Academic administrators became aware of the situation through law enforcement contacts, raising questions about Alex's conduct and its reflection on MIT's reputation. Most devastatingly for Alex, the stress and publicity of the investigation began affecting his academic performance and mental health. The social challenges that he had managed through careful routine and controlled environments became overwhelming when he was forced to deal with lawyers, federal agents, and media attention. Dr. Kim watched Alex's deterioration with growing concern. The investigation was destroying him. Alex's mind was designed for mathematical precision and logical analysis, but he was being forced to navigate legal and social complexities that were completely outside his capabilities. The qualities that made him successful in casinos, his focus, his routine-oriented behavior, his logical thinking, became liabilities when dealing with aggressive lawyers and federal investigators. The final confrontation came in the form of industry-wide casino bans that were implemented before Alex even faced trial. Using their authority to exclude undesirable patrons, casinos throughout Nevada, Atlantic City, and international jurisdictions placed Alex on permanent exclusion lists that effectively ended his gambling career. The bans were legal, comprehensive, and devastating. Alex was prohibited not just from gambling, but from entering casino properties for any reason. Hotels, restaurants, entertainment venues, and even retail establishments associated with casino operations became off-limits. More significantly, the casino industry's response revealed the true scope of Alex's discoveries. The coordinated, international effort to exclude him suggested that his mathematical insights posed threats to gambling operations worldwide, threats that were serious enough to justify unprecedented cooperation between competing casino corporations. Alex's academic career at MIT concluded with mixed results. His thesis on pattern recognition in pseudo-random systems was accepted and praised by faculty who understood its mathematical sophistication, but the real-world applications of his research could never be discussed in academic settings. Graduation should have been a triumph, but Alex faced an uncertain future. His casino winnings, approximately $2.1 million in total, were largely frozen by legal proceedings that could continue for years. His reputation in academic circles was complicated by associations with gambling activities that some professors viewed as inappropriate for serious mathematical research. Most challenging, Alex had to rebuild his identity around something other than the casino operations that had provided both financial success and intellectual satisfaction. His autism made career transitions particularly difficult, especially when his most impressive achievements couldn't be discussed in conventional employment contexts. The resolution of Alex's legal troubles took nearly 2 years, and resulted in settlements that allowed him to keep most of his winnings in exchange for agreements never to engage in casino gambling activities, and to avoid public discussions of his methods. But Alex's story didn't end with legal settlements and casino bans. His discoveries about pattern recognition in pseudo-random systems led to legitimate career opportunities in fields where his unusual capabilities were valued rather than feared. Technology companies developing security systems, financial firms analyzing market patterns, and government agencies studying data analysis began recruiting Alex for projects that utilized his unique combination of mathematical insight and autism-enhanced pattern recognition abilities. His first position after MIT was with a cybersecurity firm that needed someone who could identify subtle patterns in network intrusion attempts. Alex's casino developed skills in real-time pattern analysis, and his natural ability to process large amounts of data without emotional interference made him extraordinarily effective at detecting security threats that traditional methods missed. Alex approaches cybersecurity the same way he approached casino analysis, explains his supervisor, Dr. Jennifer Liu. He sees patterns that our other analysts miss because his mind processes information differently. What looks like random network activity to most people reveals sophisticated attack patterns when Alex analyzes it. Within 3 years of leaving MIT, Alex had established himself as one of the most sought-after pattern analysis consultants in the technology industry. His autism, which had created challenges in traditional academic and social environments, provided extraordinary advantages in fields where pure analytical ability was valued over interpersonal skills. But Alex's most significant contribution came through his work with government agencies studying financial fraud and market manipulation. His casino-developed expertise in detecting subtle biases in pseudo-random systems proved crucial for identifying sophisticated schemes that traditional investigation methods couldn't detect. The irony wasn't lost on Alex. The same pattern recognition abilities that made him persona non grata in casinos made him invaluable for detecting other people's attempts to manipulate complex systems for illegal advantage. His consulting work led to the development of software systems that could identify market manipulation, detect fraudulent accounting practices, and even predict cybersecurity threats with accuracy levels that amazed his clients and colleagues. More importantly, Alex found professional environments where his differences were recognized as strengths rather than limitations. His direct communication style, his comfort with repetitive analytical tasks, and his natural tendency to focus on logical patterns rather than political considerations made him incredibly effective in technical consulting roles. Alex sees solutions that nobody else can find because his mind works differently than ours, explains Dr. Robert Park, who hired Alex as a consultant for the National Security Agency. What looks impossible to neurotypical analysts becomes solvable when Alex applies his unique approach to pattern recognition and logical analysis. Today, Alex Chen operates a successful consulting firm that specializes in advanced pattern analysis for corporate and government clients. His casino gambling days are permanently behind him, but the analytical skills he developed during those 18 months continue to create value in legitimate professional contexts. His client list includes major technology companies, financial institutions, and government agencies that rely on his unique combination of mathematical expertise and autism-enhanced analytical capabilities. The same qualities that made casino executives fear him now make corporate leaders eager to hire him for projects that require identifying patterns in complex data systems. Alex's personal life has also stabilized in ways that seemed impossible during his casino gambling period. He married a fellow MIT graduate who understands and appreciates his unique perspective on the world. Their relationship works because both partners recognize that differences in thinking styles can be strengths rather than obstacles when properly understood and supported. Alex's autism isn't something that needs to be overcome or cured, explains his wife, Dr. Maria Santos, a researcher in neurodiversity studies. It's a different way of processing information that provides advantages in certain situations and challenges in others. Our job is to create environments where his strengths can flourish while minimizing situations that cause unnecessary stress. The couple has become advocates for neurodiversity in STEM fields, working to help other individuals with autism find career paths that utilize their unique capabilities, rather than forcing them to adapt to neurotypical expectations that may not suit their strengths. Alex's story has also contributed to academic research about autism and exceptional abilities. His case is studied by researchers interested in understanding how different neurological configurations can lead to capabilities that exceed typical human ranges in specific domains. Alex represents an extreme example of how autism can create both challenges and extraordinary advantages, explains Dr. Lisa Wang, who studies exceptional abilities in autism spectrum populations. His pattern recognition capabilities are genuinely superhuman in certain contexts, but they come with social and sensory challenges that require understanding and accommodation. The research inspired by Alex's case has practical implications for how society identifies, develops, and utilizes exceptional abilities in neurodiverse populations. His success demonstrates that differences in cognitive processing can lead to innovations and insights that benefit everyone when properly recognized and supported. Looking back on his casino gambling career, Alex has mixed feelings about that period of his life. The financial success was significant, and the intellectual challenge was satisfying, but the legal troubles and social isolation created stress that nearly overwhelmed his coping abilities. I proved that my pattern recognition abilities could work in real-world situations, Alex reflects, but I also learned that being right about mathematics doesn't protect you from legal, social, and ethical complications that go beyond pure analytical thinking. His advice to other individuals with autism who possess exceptional abilities is cautious but encouraging. Find ways to use your differences that create value for others rather than threatening existing systems. The same capabilities that made me dangerous to casinos make me valuable to clients who need someone who can see patterns that others miss. Alex's ultimate legacy may be his demonstration that neurodiversity can lead to insights and capabilities that benefit society when channeled appropriately. His casino gambling career was brief but proved that different ways of thinking can sometimes solve problems that conventional approaches cannot address. The young man who was once banned from every major casino in the world now helps corporations and government agencies solve some of their most challenging analytical problems. His autism, which created social difficulties throughout his childhood, became the foundation for a consulting career that utilizes his unique strengths while avoiding situations that cause unnecessary stress. Today, Alex Chen embodies a simple but profound truth. Human potential comes in many forms, and sometimes the minds that seem most different from the norm are exactly the ones capable of seeing solutions that everyone else has missed. His story proves that limitations often exist more in society's expectations than in individual capabilities, and that the qualities we sometimes view as disabilities can actually be superpowers when understood, developed, and applied in the right contexts. The boy who spent hours arranging colored blocks in mathematical patterns became a man who can identify hidden order in systems that appear chaotic to everyone else. His journey from childhood pattern making to casino mathematics to legitimate professional success demonstrates that exceptional abilities can find expression in many different forms, some controversial, others celebrated, but all representing the extraordinary potential that exists when different minds are allowed to pursue their unique strengths. Alex's casino gambling career lasted only 18 months, but it revealed capabilities that continue to create value 15 years later. His story continues to inspire researchers, educators, and individuals with autism who are seeking to understand how differences in thinking can become advantages when properly understood and applied. In the end, Alex Chen didn't just crack casino codes. He cracked the code for turning neurological differences into professional success, proving that sometimes the most powerful advantage is simply seeing the world differently than everyone else.